Hello, and you're very welcome along to my presentation on community archiving. Where do I start? And where do I start indeed? I've thought about this for a while now and how best to approach this particular presentation. Do I talk about community archiving as in general? Do I talk about how to create a community archive? And then it dawned on me that the clue is actually in the name, community. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk to community members and about what they're doing. So over the next 20 minutes, you're going to hear from Lorna Elms, who's the ICAN Community Development Officer. You're going to hear from Mary O'Malley from Louisburgh and Killeen Heritage. You're going to hear from Eric Shaw from Clarecastle and Ballyea Heritage and Wildlife Group. And you're going to hear from Antoinette Lydon from Uachtarard Heritage. Now, ICAN is about a lot of things. Now, I would ask you to visit our website on www.ouririshheritage.org for a fuller picture of what we actually do. But for the sake of this presentation, I'm going to focus in on our community members. So in essence, what we do is we enable our community members to develop their own archive, and from that, their own website to display their collections online. We're here today at the National Museum of Ireland Country Life, where we're going to speak to Lorna Elms, who's the ICAN Development Officer.
The Irish Community Archive Network, or ICAN for short, because it's a bit of a mouthful, is an initiative which is supporting community archives in Ireland. Community archives are community-based collections that reflect a community's shared history, identity, interest or occupation, and they're created by, with and for the community. The primary focus of ICAN is to support volunteer groups to digitise their local sources, local records, and to create digital community archives. Who's involved? Well, ICAN is a National Museum of Ireland initiative. It's jointly supported by the Heritage Council, which is Ireland's state agency for heritage, and it's delivered in partnership with participating local authority heritage officers and community groups across Ireland. Well, as a national cultural institution, the museum really has a responsibility to connect with communities across the whole of Ireland, and this initiative helps us to create those relationships at local level. But also, these community archives are really rich repositories of information, knowledge and memory that can tell us an awful lot about objects in our collections, such as those here at the Museum of Country Life, which is home to the National Folklife Collection. How it works is we are a network, we are a programme, so once a group joins with us, they are taken on a scaffolded training programme and walk step by step through that journey of creating, designing, developing their custom-built community archive website. We also provide a range of guidance and support, resources. Our member groups have access to a range of heritage professionals to help them achieve their aims. We also have regular network meetings where we all come together, we can discuss what's going on, make collective decisions and plan for the future. I suppose our key focus is the digitisation of local records and the creation of a digital archive. So this entire programme is really quite technical, and hence we have our network administrator to help support the project.
Thank you very much, Lorna Elms, for that. And I think it's safe to say that without your vision and the support of the National Museum of Ireland and the Heritage Council, ICAN, the Irish Community Archive Network, wouldn't be where it is today. Next, we're going to go to Mary O'Malley from Louisburgh Killeen Heritage. We're going to talk to her about where it all started.
Having numerous archaeological sites that you could physically visit, but how do you capture the spirit of a community that's not confined by concrete walls when you don't have space, that's not limited to a publication where you're limited to the number of copies you can produce? How do you archive and record our living history as it's happening and share that with everybody and allow everybody to contribute to it? Along came the National Museum of Ireland, advertising a role looking for communities to archive their own materials by way of a website. So we signed up to see what's involved, no technical backgrounds on any of the volunteers, and through the training and the mentorship, we were able to launch our own heritage website, where we can not only just record and archive material, but anyone with any connection to Louisburgh and Killeen anywhere in the world can contribute to our archive. I have no technical knowledge. I didn't even own a computer prior to joining the ICAN network, and I barely could send an email, even without attachments. But through the ICAN network and the training and the supports we received, I'm practically running and editing our own website and our social media pages from that. As a webmaster, I am creating content, so if a member of the community wishes for us to support them in scanning a document, scanning a photograph, recording some of their family or personal history, we will support them by doing this in a sensitive way for them and returning their original documents to them without any damage being done. And then from that we create a page on our website telling their story, because that's what our website is about. It's about telling the stories of the people of this community. So having the tools to be able to use technology, we have been enabled in our community to not only archive current day topics, but to go back and take our greatest asset, which is in our community, which is An Cuinneall. So it's the oldest parish magazine in the country. It started in 1959 by Father Leo Morhan. But we were able to go and find older versions and copies of the originals and scan those documents in and made them available. So these copies are out of print. It's rare to find some of the older versions from the late 50s and 60s. But to be able to have these available in digital format, searchable content, has opened up a whole new world. The most thing from those books is not just the stories of the everyday life in our community and the people and the characters who lived here, but it's the old Irish words which are preserved and now are recirculated through our community.
Thank you very much, Mary O'Malley, for that. And I think the takeaway from Mary O'Malley's piece is figure out what you want to do, make a plan and do it. Don't let technology be an obstacle. Next, we're going to speak to Eric Shaw from Clarecastle and Ballyea Heritage and Wildlife Group.
Well, our group came together in 2012. It was really in preparation for the year of the gathering in 2013. So we began to collect our parish records, if you like, the church, school records, graveyard records, all that type of thing, so that if we had a visitor, we could bring him to the house where his ancestors came from, the school that they might have gone to, the church where they might have been married in or baptized in, and the graveyard where they might have been buried. So that was our initial work. And with the year of the gathering then, 2012, 2013, we continued on as a heritage group and wildlife group. And we began to gather more records, particularly old photographs. We had publications, we had research papers. So we ended up with a lot of records like that were in drawers on individual computers, and it was a source of worry to us. And we didn't really know how to handle this growing mound of records to preserve them for the future. And as luck would have it, in 2019, we were invited by ICAN to join a pilot scheme where ourselves and 3 other groups from Clare were asked to undertake training in order to develop a website that we could in time learn how to upload all our records onto. And to us it was a joy and it was a gift from heaven to have this being offered to us, and we grabbed it with both hands and we undertook the training that was necessary to bring our skills up to a level to deal with the website and to eventually start uploading records onto that. Well, I suppose to continue on from what Cathy had done on one of her trips home just before COVID. She went to the Land Valuation Office in Dublin and she copied all the records to do with the other 47 townlands that make up the parish of Clarecastle-Ballyea. There's 49 townlands in all, and she had dealt with 2 of them. She copied the 47 more records, brought the whole lot back to Australia, and began to feed myself and Hassan with spreadsheets as she had finished them. And we began to upload those, and the project really has run from 2019 up to now. And in the last couple of weeks, we've put on the final spreadsheets. So we have this wonderful resource now to anybody that wants to trace the history of their house. Obviously it applies to the older houses in Clarecastle, but you can find out who owned them, the number of people that stayed in them, all searchable records. And for each plot of land there's a map and there's a reference going back to Griffith. So from 1855 up to 1970, the whole property record is there for anybody that wants to research the story of their house. Well, there was a question of what we would do with this, and we had to go and talk to Hassan, to Lorna, and that. It was something that ICAN hadn't dealt with before. It was had the makings of a big project, and we had to find ways that we could upload maps, spreadsheets, introductory documents and that on in a legible way and also in a searchable way, which was important to us. And lo and behold, ICAN came up with a solution, and we began slowly to upload the 10 spreadsheets and ancillary documentation. So it began to build up this, what has grown to a wonderful project, this Who's Been Living in My House. Well, on receipt of the typed up spreadsheet, the supplementary paperwork to do with that from Kathy, it was a question for me then to sit down at the computer and create a new post. And there was a system to be gone through that the spreadsheet could be uploaded onto the website, the map could be uploaded as an image, and the Word document that described that particular townland was also uploaded. So those were the 3 stages that you went through. And from the magic then of the computer and Hassan's work behind the scenes, this appeared as a post for a particular townland, giving a list of the properties, the occupancy of those properties, the ownership and that. I'm not a technical person, but I can learn how to do things. I can become an expert for a while, and the only way that I can keep up that skill is by repetition, because there were gaps in the work coming from Kathy, maybe several months, and I would really have to relearn the skill again to start and go back to Hassan, and I've never got him phased with queries. So I'm delighted with the help and support of Hassan and ICAN. We have a wonderful project.
Thank you very much, Eric Shaw. One thing, Eric, we don't give him enough credit for is Eric never asked me to do something for him. He always asked me, how do you do something? And more credit to him, so he's always learning. We're outside Uachtarard Library, where we're going to meet Antoinette Lydon.
Uachtarard Heritage Group was formed back in 2009 by a small group of people here, and they had gathered some old photographs, and the only thing they could do with them was scan them and put them on a website. So one of the previous members contacted Lorna with an idea about possibly putting the photographs on a website. So they worked together over some years, and the site was launched, I think, in late 10 or 11. So the graveyard project that I was working on, it was GPS marking all of them, and then I took it a stage further where
I thought, okay, we could gather memorial cards if they were possible. And family members have left them into us, so we scanned them. And that, again, through the training that we got from ICAN on how to scan to the proper DPI, even though I'm not going to go, you don't have to know those things, it's just so that they're not blurry. That's really, because you only get one chance at it and you have to do it right. And you know, people are kind enough to share their cards with you, and it's, once it goes on the site, it's there forevermore. And people, the diaspora, like going through stuff and saying, oh, do you remember him and that? And it's nice memories. I know it's sad in one way, but you're keeping the memory of the person alive too. The ICAN Champions came about through the online training during COVID. It wasn't something that was planned, it was something that kind of just happened, of people saying, well, do you know how to do this? Or I've used this, has anybody else used it? What do you think of it? So Canva was my one that I had done a training on, and I thought it was very, very suitable for the needs of community groups. So they were, because of all the features they had, it's simple to use, and it was, then Hassan asked me would I do an evening's training. So I think when other groups see that it's not Hassan the techie that's teaching us rather than one of our own, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, is that you kind of say, oh, I can do that. And that's the whole, I think the main ethos of the champions is sharing knowledge and making it very, very simplistic of, you know, this is how you do it. And if you don't know, you know, can't get it the first time, just go at it again.
Thank you very much, Antoinette Leyden. Now, I think it's fair to say that the true power of what we do actually comes from the community members that we support. We understand that technology isn't always the answer, but we do understand that technology can be an answer and can be a solution for your future project. We understand that technology can be an obstacle for a lot of people. How many times have you heard I'd do that if I knew how? Well, my job is to remove technology as an obstacle. I'm here to support any community member. All they have to do is tell me what it is that they're doing. I'll find the path of least resistance, enable them, hopefully, to do what it is that they do, and then be in the background in case they need the support. Now, that brings me full circle to community archiving. Where do I start? Well, the answer to that is simple. Start at the beginning. Start. Make a plan. Figure out what supports you need for your plan to succeed, and then go ahead, do it. It's important to remember that archiving isn't about the past. Archiving is about the future. So we'll archive what we're doing now for future generations. Now, I think as an educational technologist, I can't leave without a Steve Jobs quote. Steve Jobs said, "You can't join the dots looking forward. You have to look backwards to join the dots, and you have to trust that those dots will join in your future." And with archiving, that'll help make that happen. My name is Hassan Dabbagh. I'm Network Administrator with ICAN, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.